The melting of the world's snow and ice has now triggered multiple climate tipping points, especially increasing levels of methane. Scientists have discovered solutions giving us a chance at reversing climate change, but the clock is ticking.
Climate change was supposed to be this 100-year slow lobster boil, and instead it's here and now.
In the Arctic, the impacts of climate change are the most extreme. But what does that actually mean for all of us?
Substantial melting of the ice sheets, a rise in sea level, permanent droughts.
The spike that we now see, I call it an explosion.
I think we're at a crossover where the profit you can make from the solutions is greater than the profit from the problems.
Redwood forest can absorb more carbon than any other forest type on the planet.
We have actually discovered how to pull carbon out of the atmosphere.
We extract CO2 from the air and permanently remove it by turning it into rock.
When you scale this up, our kelp farms can feed the world.
30,000 square miles of solar would power the entire United States.
Either we can stay the course, drown, burn, and starve ourselves to death, or we can come together, we can innovate.
Is it game over, or is it, in fact, game on?
Technology can save us. If we do that, we can save the world, so why don't we do it?
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Sabilah. I am the Australia Communication and Business Institute Indonesia student under the supervision of Mr. Charles Bonar Sirait as my mentor and lecturer. I'm here today to talk to you about climate change issue that is very important for to the sustainable world. In earlier the beginning, we show a short video trailer from the Ice and Fire movie. The film is about climate change, which is produced in 2019 and directed by Leila Connors. I believe everyone already know what is the climate change, and might be indirectly we already feeling the impact of climate change. And briefly, climate change is a long-term shift in global or regional climate patterns. Often climate change refers specifically to the rise in global temperatures from the middle 20th century to present. However, do you know what factor cause climate change? So how is the effect? Then what the future impact of climate change? And what can you do to help? Of course, last but not least is one example of climate change itself. To shorten the time, let's check it out. The level of carbon dioxide in our atmosphere has increased every year, and this year there is a 95% chance that human activity is the cause, such as the burning of fossil fuels such as excess oil and coal, which is causing increased CO2, which is used to power our homes, factories, airplanes, and cars. In addition, the global population has tripled in the last 70 years, and we consume more and more animal products, which eventually release another pollutant called methane. So all those gases that we use is released into the air, and when sunlight gets into the Earth's atmosphere, some of the heat gas is trapped, and which eventually the planet gets warm, which is why it's called the greenhouse effect. And this the effect from climate change. The existence of the Paris Agreement is to limit the temperatures rising by 1.5 degrees or a maximum of 2 degrees before 2100. So countries set their own targets on how much CO2 they emit. But scientists say what is needed now is greater push to change everything about how to slow climate change. Therefore, what we can do for climate change is that we can act together and start reducing emission level quickly by using all available tools and doing disposal, switching to renewable energy, installing leaks in home insulation, installing smart thermostat, installing solar panels, getting on public transport, using bicycle, reducing airplane travel, buying electricity, and consuming less meat. Future impact of climate change is stronger heat waves, wind patterns, worsening drought in some areas, higher temperature rises, sea level rises, changing in hydrological cycle, increased health risks, befalling those most vulnerable, and impact in regional areas such as in Africa, Antarctica, Arctic, Asia, Europe, and etc. The example of climate change is one of the real cases of climate change in this century is the drying up of waterfalls in African countries, especially on the border between Zimbabwe and Zambia in 2019, which has an impact on tourists due to the decreasing present to tourists, the decline in the country's economy, the reduced supply of electricity that depend on hydroelectric power. Countries around the world agree that climate change is the biggest problem, and every country is ready to take decision and action. And leading company will continue to make bold promises to use low-emission technologies. As ordinary people, we can continue to demand political leaders to tackle climate change. In conclusion, to reduce climate change, we can do simple things, first starting from the environment around us, like using less energy and water, turn off the light and the TV when you leave the room, planting trees, and etc. At the end of this discussion, I would like to thank you and hope that this discussion can provide all of you with new insight about climate change.